My fiancée publicly humiliated me at our wedding as a prank, so I decided to pull an even bigger one by canceling everything. Now, she's begging for another chance. I, 28M, was set to marry Vanessa, 27F, the woman I believed to be my soulmate. We had been together for 4 years, and while I knew she loved pranks and attention, I never imagined she would cross the line. Looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. Vanessa had a habit of turning serious moments into jokes. When I proposed, she pretended to say no for 5 agonizing minutes before bursting into laughter and accepting. When I earned a promotion at work, she gave a speech at the party, making it sound like pure luck rather than recognizing my hard work. She always claimed it was just harmless fun, but somehow I was always the target. Despite this, I loved her. I convinced myself that it was simply part of her personality. However, doubts began creeping in when her friends hinted at a big surprise she had planned for the wedding. When I pressed them for details, they just chuckled and said, "Oh, you'll see." That set off alarm bells. I didn't know what she had in store, but my gut told me it wouldn't be good. I reached out to my friend Mark, a lawyer, and together we created a completely fake prenuptial agreement. It was filled with legal jargon and included one key clause. If either party publicly embarrassed the other before signing the contract, all jointly planned financial obligations would be void, and a public apology would be required. Though legally meaningless, it looked completely legitimate. I printed, signed, and kept it ready, just in case Vanessa decided to pull something. Then came the wedding day. Everything seemed perfect until we reached the altar. Just before we were about to exchange vows, Vanessa took the microphone from the officiant, grinning mischievously. "I have a little surprise for my wonderful soon-to-be husband," she announced, turning to the guests. With a dramatic wave toward the doors, she added, "Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm welcome to the real love of my life." I froze. The crowd murmured in confusion as a man walked in. Vanessa's ex, Jason. Beaming, she called him up to the altar. "Come on up, Jason. You didn't think I'd get married without my first love here, did you?" Jason strolled up, grinning. The room filled with hushed whispers. I felt like I was trapped in a nightmare. Then Vanessa turned back to me, her smile as wide as ever. "Babe, I just couldn't say what I do without making sure Jason approved first. I mean, he was such a big part of my life, and well, we've been talking a lot lately." "Talking a lot?" Jason clapped me on the back and smirked. "Relax, man, it's just a joke." Her bridesmaids erupted into laughter like this was some grand comedy show. But Vanessa wasn't finished. "Oh, and just for fun, I had a little poll running among my bridesmaids this whole time. We were taking bets on whether I'd actually go through with the wedding or not." She pulled out her phone, showing a group chat filled with laughing emojis, votes on whether she'd fake cold feet, and even bets on whether I would cry at the altar. The room fell into a stunned silence. My mother looked ready to faint. My father's face turned crimson with anger. My best man muttered under his breath, "What the actual hells?" My hands trembled. Vanessa stood there, expecting me to laugh it off. "Oh, come on, babe," she said, nudging me. "Lighten up. You didn't really think I was going to leave you, right?" That's when I smiled, because I had the perfect response. The entire room was still. Vanessa stood at the altar, smug and triumphant, as if she had just pulled off the greatest prank in history. Her bridesmaids were still giggling. Jason was standing beside me like he belonged there. Half the guests were giving me pitying glances. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. My mother clutched my father's arm, on the verge of tears. My best man, Ryan, looked ready to punch Jason. Vanessa tilted her head, still waiting for me to play along. "Say something," she urged. I took a deep breath and smiled. "Wow," I said, shaking my head. This is incredible." Vanessa's face lit up. She thought I was in on it. She had no idea what was coming next. I turned to the officiant. "Hey, do we have a table for signing the marriage license?" I need to grab something. The officiant, just as horrified as the rest of the guests, hesitated before nodding and motioning toward a small table nearby. Keeping my composure, I walked over, reached into my bag, and retrieved a sleek black folder. Holding it up for everyone to see, I cleared my throat. Ladies and gentlemen, before we proceed, I have a document to share with my lovely fiancée. Vanessa tilted her head in confusion. Wait, what? With deliberate movements, I unclipped the folder and pulled out the fabricated prenup. Vanessa, I said, my voice calm and steady. I had my lawyer draft a little agreement before the wedding. Just a minor safeguard, you know. In case something like this ever happened, I turned the document outward, making sure the guests saw the official-looking stamp at the bottom. Vanessa's face paled instantly. What is that? She asked, her smile faltering for the first time. Oh, just a simple clause, I replied, flipping through the pages with feigned nonchalance. Right here. It states that if either party engages in public humiliation before signing the marriage license, all joint financial obligations, such as the wedding, honeymoon, and shared assets, are immediately voided. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Vanessa's eyes widened as she rapidly blinked. Wait, that can't be real. Oh, it's very real, I said smoothly. And it also requires the guilty party to issue a public apology right here, in front of everyone. Jason let out a chuckle. Dude, you can't be serious. This has to be a joke. I turned to him, smirking. Oh, I take pranks very seriously. Vanessa was beginning to panic. Babe, come on. This is insane. You're not really mad, are you? I cocked my head to the side. Mad? Why would I be? This is hilarious. Just part of the fun, right? So, here's my prank. I'm canceling this wedding. Silence. Her expression crumbled. Wait, what? I snapped the folder shut. Don't look so surprised. You had your joke. Now it's my turn. Wedding's off. Gasps and whispers erupted across the room. The officiant awkwardly took a step back. Vanessa's face shifted from shock to rage, turning a deep shade of red. You're kidding? Am I? I said, turning to my best man, Ryan. Would you do the honors? Grinning, Ryan pulled out his phone and tapped the screen. Instead of the traditional wedding march, Hit the Road Jack blared through the speakers. Some guests burst into laughter. Others just stared in stunned silence. Vanessa's breath hitched as she fought to regain control. You're not serious, she hissed. You're not leaving me? I flashed a grin. I literally am. Turning to my parents, I said, I think we're done here. My mom nodded. And my dad immediately started informing guests that the wedding was officially canceled. I then shifted my attention to Jason, who still wore a smug grin, treating it all like an elaborate joke. Hey, Jason, I called out. Since you love being involved in other people's relationships so much, congratulations. She's all yours. His smirk vanished. Vanessa spun to him in desperation. Jason, tell him this is stupid. He took a step back. I think I'm gonna head out. Actually, he was already walking down the aisle before she could process what was happening. The bridesmaids glanced awkwardly at their drinks. Some guests chuckled outright, while others whispered in disbelief. Vanessa, on the other hand, looked utterly destroyed. You can't just leave me like this, she shrieked. I paused at the exit and glanced back one last time. Vanessa, you love attention so much. Well, congratulations. You got it. And with that, I walked out of my own wedding, leaving her alone at the altar, humiliated, and exactly where she deserved to be. Walking away was the best decision of my life. As I stepped outside, Ryan and my parents followed, along with a handful of guests who clearly wanted nothing to do with Vanessa after witnessing what had happened. Behind me, her scream still echoed through the hall that I heard my name being called, but I didn't even bother turning around. The fallout started almost immediately. My phone was flooded with messages and missed calls from Vanessa. At first, She acted bewildered, as if she couldn't fathom why I had walked away. Then came the rage. Furious texts about how I had embarrassed her, how she couldn't believe I had ruined the wedding over something so trivial. She insisted it was just a harmless prank, and that I had completely overreacted. When I ignored her, she switched strategies, threatening to tell everyone that I had abandoned her at the altar. That was rich, considering she was the one who had turned our wedding into a spectacle. But there was one thing she hadn't counted on proof. My best man had taken screenshots of her bridesmaids group chat before we left. The same chat where they had been making bets on whether she'd actually go through with the ceremony or pretend to get cold feet. That alone crushed any attempt she made to twist the story. Word spread fast. Guests who had been uncomfortable with her stunt now had the full picture, and they weren't shy about sharing it. Within days, her reputation was in tatters. Even her own parents reached out to apologize for her actions. Apparently, they had warned her not to pull any antics at the wedding, but she ignored them. Her friends, the same ones who had encouraged her, started distancing themselves once they realized how badly she had tarnished her own image. Joking around was one thing, but publicly humiliating her fiancé on their wedding day? No one wanted to be associated with that. Then came the financial blow. Vanessa tried to demand that I reimburse her for the wedding expenses. That was laughable, considering I had footed the bill for almost everything. The venue, catering, even the honeymoon she had been eagerly looking forward to. But since the reservations were in my name, canceling everything took just one phone call. She was left with nothing, no wedding, no honeymoon, and no sympathy. A week later, she showed up at my door. I wasn't surprised. She looked drained, like she hadn't slept in days. It was clear she finally understood the magnitude of her mistake. She attempted to apologize, claiming she never meant for things to escalate the way they did, that she never thought I would actually leave. She tried to tell me she still loved me, that we could fix things if I would just give her another chance. I had no interest in that. Instead, I handed her an envelope and watched as she opened it with trembling hands. Inside was an invitation. Not a real one. Just a mock wedding rehearsal scheduled at the same venue where she had humiliated me. The date? That very day. The guest list? Everyone who had witnessed her little stunt. There was no groom's name, just one simple message. Now we're even. She looked up at me, speechless. I didn't say a word. I simply closed the door and walked away. Vanessa had wanted to turn our wedding into a joke. She got exactly what she wished for, except this time, she was the punchline. She never truly recovered. Footage from the wedding surfaced online, and the internet had a field day, labeling her as the bride who got left as a joke. Job opportunities vanished. Friends distanced themselves, and even her family grew tired of defending her. Her bridesmaids abandoned her when they realized they could be dragged down with her. As for Jason, he wanted nothing to do with the mess. The moment the backlash hit, he disappeared and moved on with his life. Meanwhile, I thrived. I took time to heal, focused on my career, and eventually met someone who genuinely respected me. Vanessa, on the other hand, never stopped trying to contact me. Emails, messages, even showing up at places she thought I'd be. I never responded. The last I heard, she was struggling financially and still single. She wanted a joke. She became the joke.